The suspenseful beginning. The room was quiet, but something felt wrong. He slowly opened his eyes, expecting to see the soft light of morning. Instead, he saw a shadow over him. His breath caught in his throat. A woman was on top of him. She was his new housekeeper, the one he had hired only 3 days ago. Her dark hair fell forward, brushing his face. But it was not the closeness that shocked him. It was her eyes, wide, unblinking, terrified. Her voice was sharp, but also urgent. "Don't move. Don't even breathe loudly," she whispered. His mind raced. Was this a nightmare? Why was she here, sitting on his chest like this? He tried to push her off, but her hand pressed firmly against his mouth. "I said don't move," she hissed. Her hand trembled, not with anger, but with fear. Real fear. The man froze. He could hear something outside the house. A faint metallic hum. Then, a scraping sound, like claws dragging across glass. "What's happening?" he whispered when she moved her hand away. Her face was pale. "If you move now, they'll find you." His heart pounded in his chest. They? Who was she talking about? He thought about calling the police, but his phone was on the nightstand, only an arm's length away. She shook her head before he could even try. Somehow she knew what he was thinking. "No calls, no noise. Just stay still," she said. The sound outside grew louder. It was not just one machine. It was many. The hum rose and fell, like a swarm of insects circling the house. Then came the thud. A heavy, deliberate thud against the front door. He jumped, but she pressed him down again. Her strength surprised him. She was thin, almost delicate, but her hand was like steel. "Please," she whispered. Her eyes locked on his. "Trust me. For now, trust me." The man stared at her. He didn't understand. She was only a housekeeper. She was supposed to clean, to cook, maybe do laundry. Why was she acting like some kind of soldier hiding from enemies? But there was no mistaking the sound outside. Someone, or something, was searching the house. "Who are they?" he asked, his voice shaking. Her lips tightened. For a moment she looked like she might answer. But then the window rattled, and both of them went silent. The hum stopped. Total silence. He held his breath, afraid the beating of his heart might be too loud. Seconds passed, but they felt like hours. And then, the sound of glass cracking. His bedroom window shook violently, as if invisible hands were testing its strength. His housekeeper's eyes darted to the window. Her body tensed, like a predator ready to strike. "Stay here," she said. She slid, off him, moving with a speed that seemed unnatural. She was on her feet in an instant, her back pressed to the wall, eyes fixed on the window. He sat up, his mind screaming at him to run, but his body frozen in fear. The window cracked again. A thin line of glowing light spread across the glass. The housekeeper's hand clenched into a fist. For the first time, he noticed something strange. Her skin. It glowed faintly. Just for a second, then it faded. He blinked, unsure if it was real or just his terrified imagination. The window burst inward. Shards of glass scattered across the room. He covered his head with his arms. When he looked up, his heart nearly stopped. Something was crawling through the broken window. It wasn't human. It was metallic, insect-like, with long legs that clutched the frame. Its eyes glowed red, scanning the room. He gasped, but his housekeeper moved faster than he could see. She grabbed him and pulled him down to the floor. The machine's head turned toward the bed, its red lights sweeping the space where he had just been lying. "Don't move," she whispered again, her body pressed, close to his as they hid behind the edge of the bed. The machine scanned the room. Its red light passed over them, but it didn't react. After a few seconds, it crawled back out through the window. The hum outside grew stronger. More machines. More searching. His housekeeper finally exhaled. Her hands shook, but her eyes were firm. "You need to know something," she said, turning toward him. I am not here to clean your house, I am here to protect you. His stomach dropped. He opened his mouth to speak, but before he could say a word, another crash shook the house. This time, it was the front door, and it was breaking open. Strange. Revelations. The sound of the front door breaking echoed through the house. The man's blood ran cold. He had never felt fear this sharp before. Every instinct screamed at him to run, to get out, to escape. But the woman in front of him, the housekeeper, stood perfectly still. Her eyes were fixed on the door, her body tense, ready. The door slammed again. Wood splintered, hinges cracked, then silence. The man's voice was barely a whisper. Who are they? Why are they here? The housekeeper turned to him, her expression unreadable. Not now. If you want to live, follow me. Before he could answer, she pulled him by the wrist and dragged him across the room. He stumbled, his bare feet crunching against the broken glass from the window. She didn't seem to care about the cuts or the blood. Her grip was strong, almost painful. They rushed down the hallway. Behind them came the metallic thud of footsteps, cold, precise, mechanical. The invaders were inside. She pulled him into a small storage room and shut the door without making a sound. In the dark, the man could hear his own breath, ragged and panicked. This doesn't make sense, he whispered. You're just my housekeeper. I don't even know your last name. Her voice was calm, but urgent. That's because I gave you a false name. I couldn't tell you the truth. Not yet. He blinked in the darkness. Then who are you? She was silent for a long moment. Then, in the faint light from the window, he saw her roll up her sleeve. His eyes widened. Her arm wasn't normal. It wasn't flesh. Under the skin, glowing lines of blue energy pulsed like veins of light. The skin itself looked human, but only on the surface. Beneath, there was something else. Something advanced. Something alien. You're not human, he breathed. Her lips tightened. Half human, half something else. My creators made me to blend in, to live among you. But my purpose is not what you think. I was not hired to clean your house. I was sent to protect you. His mind spun. None of this felt real. Just yesterday, she was vacuuming the living room and folding laundry. Now she was glowing in the dark, speaking about creators and missions. Protect me? From what? He demanded. The house shook as heavy steps moved closer. The machines were sweeping the rooms one by one. From them, she said, tilting her head toward the noise. They are hunters, they track special humans, and you are one of them. He almost laughed, though his voice shook. Special? Me? I'm just a normal guy. I work, I come home, I sleep. There's nothing special about me. Her eyes locked on his. They glowed faintly now, as if the light inside her body could no longer hide. That's what you believe, but they know the truth. Humans carry something inside them, something powerful. Most never awaken it, but you, they have marked you. They believe you are dangerous to them. A crash interrupted her words. The machines were close. Too close. The man's fear grew sharper. He wanted to argue, to deny it, but the sound of cold metal scraping the walls silenced him. Why me? He whispered. Why now? She didn't answer. Instead, she leaned closer, her voice low and urgent. Because you are starting to change. The drones outside, when they scanned you, they found what you are becoming. That is why they are here. That is why I was sent to you. He shook his head, trying to make sense of it. Change? What change? He had felt strange lately. Yes. Dreams. That didn't feel like dreams, a sharp buzzing in his head whenever he was stressed. But he thought it was just exhaustion. Listen to me, she said firmly. You can question later. Right now, survival is all that matters. The door handle rattled. The machines were outside the storage room. The man's chest tightened as he heard the metallic claws scraping the wood. The housekeeper pressed her glowing hand against the wall. A faint hum filled the room. For a moment, the wall itself shimmered with light. "What are you doing?" he asked, panic rising. "Opening a way out," she whispered. The wall dissolved into a glowing doorway. Beyond it was darkness, like a tunnel stretching deep underground. "Go," she ordered. He hesitated. This was insane. None of it felt possible. A glowing doorway, alien hunters, a half-human protector. This was something from a nightmare. But the sound of the door cracking behind him left no room for doubt. He stepped into the tunnel. She followed, and the wall sealed shut behind them, erasing all trace of their escape. In the silence of the tunnel, the man's voice trembled. "If you're not my housekeeper, then what are you really?" She turned to him. Her face was half lit by the glow from her arm. Her eyes burned with a mix of sadness and strength. "I am your guardian," she said softly. "And if I fail, you will die." The man opened his mouth to speak, but then, far above them, the house exploded. The shockwave roared down into the tunnel, shaking the earth. Dust rained from the ceiling, and he realized his life would never, ever be normal again. The first attack. The tunnel shook as the explosion above echoed through the earth. The man stumbled, nearly falling, but the housekeeper caught him by the arm and pulled him forward. Her grip was like iron, steady and unshaken, even as dust rained down around them. "Keep moving," she ordered. Her glowing arm lit the dark path like a torch. His lungs burned as he tried to keep up. He was not used to running for his life. The air in the tunnel was thick, the ground uneven. Every sound, every falling pebble made his heart pound harder. Finally, the tunnel widened into a larger chamber. The glow from her arm revealed walls of stone covered in strange markings. They looked old, ancient, almost carved by hands that weren't human. "What is this place?" he whispered, his voice trembling. "Safe," she said. "For now." But the moment the words left her mouth, a new sound echoed through the chamber. A metallic whirring. Sharp. Inhuman. The man froze. "They found us." The housekeeper's eyes narrowed. "Stay behind me." From the tunnel entrance, red lights appeared, 2, then 4, then 6. Drones crawled into the chamber, their mechanical limbs clicking against the stone. Their bodies were sleek, insect-like, with glowing red cores at the center of their chests. The man's stomach turned. These weren't ordinary machines. They moved with purpose, scanning, searching, hunting, and every one of them was focused on him. The first drone lunged. Before he could even scream, the housekeeper was in motion. Her body blurred. 1 second she was standing still. The next, she was a streak of light. She slammed into the drone with enough force to shatter its chest. Sparks exploded as it fell lifeless to the ground. The man's mouth fell open. He had never seen speed like that. She wasn't just strong. She was something else entirely. But there were more. 2 drones leapt forward together, claws slashing. She spun low, sweeping her leg beneath them. Their metal frames crashed into the stone. She rose, driving her glowing fist through one of their cores. The other recovered quickly, its red eyes flashing. It fired a beam of energy, scorching the wall beside them. The man dove for cover, his heart hammering. The housekeeper ripped a broken piece of stone from the floor and hurled it like a weapon. It struck the drone with a sharp crack, breaking its eye. The machine sparked, shrieked in a metallic voice, and collapsed. The chamber was chaos. More drones crawled in, filling the space with their mechanical screeches. Their red lights flashed, targeting the man. He pressed his back against the wall, panic flooding his veins. He felt useless, weak. She was fighting like a warrior, and all he could do was hide. "Why are they after me?" he shouted over the noise. "They want what's inside you," she snapped, dodging another blast. Her fist glowed brighter as she slammed it into another drone, crushing it into sparks. Her words echoed in his head. "Inside me." He didn't have time to think. One of the drones broke through her defense and charged at him, its claws stretched wide, glowing red. He raised his arms instinctively, bracing for pain. And then something impossible happened. The air around him rippled. A sudden wave of force burst from his body, slamming into the drone. The machine flew backward and crashed against the wall, shattering into pieces. The man stood frozen, staring at his hands. He hadn't touched it. He hadn't even moved. But the drone was gone. The housekeeper turned sharply. Her glowing eyes widened, not with fear but with recognition. "It's starting," she whispered. He stumbled back. What did I just do?" "Your power is awakening," she said quickly, dodging another strike. "That's why they want you alive. That's why they will never stop." More drones poured into the chamber. The man's breath came fast and shallow. He felt the same energy pulsing through his body, the same strange vibration he had felt in his dreams. Another drone lunged at him. He panicked, throwing his hands out. Again the air rippled. A shock wave of force struck the machine, sending it flying across the room. The man gasped. I can't control it." "You don't need control," she said, her voice fierce. "You need to survive." Together they fought, the housekeeper with her inhuman strength and the man with his strange newborn power. The chamber filled with light, sparks, and the screech of tearing metal. One by one the drones fell. When the last one collapsed, silence returned to the chamber. The man fell to his knees, shaking, sweat dripping from his face. His chest heaved as he tried to breathe. The housekeeper stood over the broken machines, her glowing arm dimming. She looked at him with a mix of pride and worry. "You see now," she said softly. "You are not ordinary. You are the reason they came." The man shook his head. "I don't understand. Why me? Why this?" She glanced at the tunnel, her expression hardening. "Because whether you accept it or not, you are the future of your kind, and they will destroy everything to stop you." Before he could answer, the chamber shook violently. Dust fell from the ceiling. A deep rumble filled the air. The man looked up, his heart dropping. The sound wasn't from the tunnel. It was from above. Something huge was descending toward them. Escape and truth. The rumble grew louder, shaking dust from the ceiling. The man staggered back as pebbles rained around him. The broken drones on the ground sparked weakly, their red, eyes fading, but the danger was not over. The housekeeper looked up, her glowing eyes narrowing. "They've sent something bigger." The man's throat went dry. "Bigger? What could be bigger than those things?" Before she could answer, the ceiling cracked. A massive metal claw tore through the stone above them, slicing down with crushing force. The chamber shook as fragments fell. "Run!" she shouted. She grabbed his hand and pulled him toward another passage on the far side of the chamber. They sprinted, their footsteps echoing as the claw ripped through the roof behind them. The tunnel was narrow and twisted. The man's legs ached, but fear kept him moving. He could hear the grinding of machines chasing them, the sound of metal on stone. "Why are they chasing me?" he gasped. "Why not you?" Her grip tightened. "Because you are the key. I am just your shield." His chest heaved with panic and exhaustion. "Key to what? None of this makes sense. I'm not special. I'm just a man who hired a housekeeper." Her eyes glowed brighter in the dark as she glanced at him. "You are not just a man. You carry something inside you. Something every human once had but lost long ago. They fear it because if it awakens, humans can rise against them." The words echoed in his mind. Rise against them. He stumbled, struggling to keep pace. "You're saying humans used to be like me?" "Yes," she said firmly. "Long before your history, humans were powerful, stronger than any species in this galaxy. But something happened. Your kind was made to forget, made to weaken. They erased what you were." The man shook his head in disbelief. "That's impossible. We build, we invent, but we're not some warriors of the galaxy." She looked at him with quiet intensity. "And yet you destroyed a drone without touching it." The memory of the shockwave came back to him. The way the drone had been thrown across the room. His skin prickled at the thought. "But I didn't control it," he muttered. "It just happened." That's how it begins, she said. Power first shows itself in fear, but if you live long enough, you will learn to control it. The tunnel opened into a cavern lit by strange glowing crystals. The man slowed, staring at the shimmering walls. They pulsed softly as if alive. What is this place? He asked. A forgotten refuge, she replied. Long ago, your kind built places like this to hide from the ones who enslaved you. Few remain. Her words sent chills down his spine. He touched one of the crystals. It felt warm, pulsing gently under his hand. For a second, he thought he felt it respond to him, like it recognized him. But the moment broke as another crash thundered from the tunnel behind them. The machines were breaking through. The housekeeper pulled him forward again, deeper into the cavern. We can't stay here, keep moving. He followed reluctantly, but his thoughts spun wildly. Was it true? Were humans once powerful? And if so, why him? Finally, they stopped at a small alcove where the air was still and the noise of pursuit had faded slightly. She turned to him, her glowing arm dimmed now but her face serious. You need to understand, she said. The aliens, the ones who sent those machines, don't just see humans as weak animals. They see you as a threat. If even one human awakens fully, it could start a chain reaction. More could awaken, and if that happens, they lose control of this planet forever. The man swallowed hard. So they kill us before we remember what we are? Her expression hardened. Yes, and now that they know about you, they will not stop. He leaned against the crystal wall, his mind racing. And you? What are you, in all this? Her eyes softened for the first time. I was made for one purpose, to guard the first awakened human. That is you. My life means nothing compared to yours. The weight of her words sank deep into him. He wanted to argue, to deny it, but the truth of what he had already seen left no room for doubt. The cavern shook again. A booming roar echoed from the tunnel. It wasn't the sound of small drones anymore. Something heavier, something alive. Her eyes snapped toward the sound. They've sent a hunter. The man's heart raced. What's a hunter? She looked back at him, her voice grim. Not a machine, a living weapon, smarter, deadlier, and it will not stop until you are dead. The roar came again, closer this time. The crystals flickered as if reacting to its presence. The man's hands trembled. We can't fight that, we barely survived the drones. Her gaze locked on his. Then you must awaken faster, or we will not survive at all. The roar shook the cavern again, and the man realized this was no longer a simple chase. This was the beginning of a war. Hidden power. The cavern trembled again, the crystals flickering like frightened candles. The man's chest rose and fell in quick, shallow breaths. He had never felt so small, so powerless. Yet the sound that echoed through the tunnel ahead told him power would not matter. Not against whatever was coming. The housekeeper stood tall, her glowing arm faint in the crystal light. Her eyes were locked on the tunnel. She did not move, but her body was tense, every muscle ready to spring. Then it appeared. The creature stepped into the cavern, and the man's stomach dropped. It was massive, taller than any human, with long, powerful limbs that ended in claws like blades. Its skin was dark metal, fused with something organic, as if machine and flesh had been stitched together. Its eyes glowed a deep crimson, brighter and more intelligent than the drones. The hunter. It scanned the cavern slowly, its gaze finally falling on him. The man felt its eyes pierce straight through him, reading him like an open book. His knees weakened under its stare. The housekeeper shifted, stepping in front of him. Stay behind me, she said firmly. The hunter let out a sound, low and guttural, almost like laughter. Then it moved. Faster than he expected, the creature lunged. The housekeeper met it head-on. Their clash shook the cavern, stone cracking beneath their feet. She struck with her glowing fist, but the hunter blocked easily, its claw sparking against her arm. The man stumbled back, watching helplessly as the two fought. Sparks and shards of stone flew with every strike. She was fast, but the hunter was faster. She was strong, but it was stronger. The hunter swung its massive claw, catching her across the chest. She was thrown into the wall, crashing hard against the crystals. They pulsed weakly as she slid to the ground, coughing. The man's heart pounded. She wasn't invincible, she could lose, and if she lost, he was next. The hunter turned toward him. Its eyes flared red. Step by step it moved closer, each footfall heavy and final. The man backed away until his shoulders hit the cavern wall. His breaths came in gasps, his legs trembling. "No," he whispered. The hunter raised its claw, and something deep inside him snapped. A burning heat surged through his body, racing from his chest to his fingertips. His vision blurred, his ears roared, and suddenly the crystals around him lit up. Bright, blinding, alive. The hunter paused, its eyes narrowing. The man raised his hands without thinking. A wave of raw energy exploded outward. The cavern shook as the force slammed into the hunter, sending it flying across the chamber. It crashed into the far wall with a roar, dust and stone collapsing around it. The man stood frozen, his hands still glowing faintly. He stared at them in disbelief. "I did that?" The housekeeper struggled to her feet, clutching her side. Her glowing eyes widened as she looked at him. "Yes, that is your power." He shook his head. "But I don't know how. It just..." Her voice was urgent. "Don't fight it, let it happen." The hunter roared, bursting free from the rubble. It was furious now. Its crimson eyes blazed, its claws dripping sparks. It charged again, faster than before. The man panicked, throwing his hands up once more. Another shockwave burst out, but this time the hunter pushed through it, clawing against the invisible force. The man cried out, his body trembling as the energy drained him. The hunter reached him, its claw inches from his chest, and then the housekeeper struck. With her last strength, she drove her glowing fist into the hunter's side. The creature roared, stumbling back. The man collapsed to his knees, gasping for air, his body shaking violently. The housekeeper crouched beside him. "You must focus. Your power listens to your will. Fear makes it wild. Control makes it strong." He stared at her desperately. "I can't control it." "Yes, you can," she said, her voice fierce. "Because you must." The hunter rose again, limping but unbroken. It snarled, its crimson eyes locked on the man. The crystals around the cavern pulsed brighter and brighter as if responding to him. He felt it again, the burning energy, the vibration in his bones. This time, he didn't fight it. He closed his eyes, focused on the power inside him, and pushed. Light burst from the crystals flowing into him. His body glowed, his hand steady this time. The hunter charged one final time. The man stepped forward. His fear was still there, but something stronger rose above it. Resolve. He thrust his hands out, and the cavern itself seemed to explode, with light. A massive wave of force struck the hunter, hurling it backward with unstoppable strength. It slammed into the wall and didn't rise again. Silence fell. The man collapsed, his body trembling, his chest heaving. The glow faded from his hands. The housekeeper knelt beside him, her voice soft now. "You see? The power is yours. This is why they fear you." He looked at her, his face pale. "If this is what I can do, what happens now?" She met his gaze, her expression grim. "Now they will send more, stronger, and your real test will begin." The crystals dimmed, leaving the cavern in silence once more. But the man knew his life would never be the same. The bigger plan. The cavern was silent except for the man's heavy breathing. His body shook, his hands still tingled with the memory of power. Across the chamber, the hunter's broken body twitched once before lying still. The red glow in its eyes finally faded. The man slumped against the crystal wall, his chest rising and falling. I can't believe it. I actually killed it." The housekeeper knelt beside him. Her face was pale, her glowing arm dimmed, but her voice was steady. "No, you survived it. That is not the same as victory. This was only a test." Now they know exactly how dangerous you are. The man stared at her. Test? What do you mean? Her eyes lifted toward the ceiling of the cavern, as though she could see beyond the stone. The hunter was only one. Above us their ship waits, and their leader now knows you are real. His heart skipped a beat. Their leader? She nodded. Yes. A commander of the alien horde. The ones who control the machines, the ones who erase whole civilizations. They will not stop until you are gone, until your kind is forgotten forever. The man pressed his hands into his face. Sweat ran down his skin, mixing with dust. Why me? Why not take someone else? Why risk all of this for one person? The housekeeper's expression softened. She reached out, resting her glowing hand on his arm. Because you are the first awakened human in centuries. If you live, more may awaken. Your existence alone is proof that humans can rise again. That is why you are their target. Her words sank into him like stones in water. He wanted to deny it, to call it madness, but deep inside he knew it was true. He had felt it when the power burst from him, the force, the connection, the strange bond with the crystals around him. It wasn't just chance. Before he could respond, a deep rumble shook the cavern. A beam of red light cut through the ceiling, melting stone. The air grew hot. The man shielded his eyes. What is that? The housekeeper's face was grim. Their signal. The commander wants to speak. The light thickened into a glowing circle. And then, in the center of the cavern, a towering hologram appeared. It was an alien, tall and thin, with skin like polished metal and eyes that glowed like burning coals. Its voice was deep and cold, echoing through the chamber. Human. It said the word heavy with disgust. You are awake. That should not be possible. The man's blood froze. He couldn't speak. The alien's fiery eyes turned toward him, ignoring the housekeeper completely. Your kind was broken long ago, made weak, made silent, but you... It leaned closer, its voice dark. You are a mistake, a threat, and mistakes must be erased. The man clenched his fists, anger rising despite his fear. Why? Why destroy us? What did we ever do to you? The alien's expression shifted into something like amusement. You were once dangerous, stronger than even we, but your power was your curse. You fought each other, destroyed each other until nothing remained. We simply finished what you started. We buried your fire so you would never rise again. The housekeeper stepped forward, her voice sharp. And yet he is. Proof you failed. The alien ignored her. Its burning gaze stayed fixed on the man. Listen well, awakened one. Surrender yourself and Earth will be spared. Resist, and we will burn your world to ash. The man's throat tightened. The weight of the words crashed over him. Billions of lives, the entire planet, all resting on his choice. The hologram flickered once and vanished. The red light retreated, leaving the cavern dim again. For a long moment neither of them spoke. The only sound was the faint hum of the crystals. Finally, the man whispered, They'll destroy Earth, because of me. The housekeeper shook her head firmly. No. They will destroy Earth because they fear what you represent. With you alive, humanity has a chance to awaken. Without you, they remain slaves forever. He looked at her, his voice breaking. But I can't fight an army. I can barely stand. Her hand gripped his shoulder, steady and strong. You don't need to fight an army, you need to survive. Survive long enough to grow. Survive long enough to awaken fully. When that happens, you will not be alone. Others will follow. The man closed his eyes, struggling with the weight of her words. The power inside him terrified him. But the thought of billions of lives in danger terrified him more. He forced himself to breathe deeply. So what now? What do we do? The housekeeper's glowing eyes burned with determination. Now we prepare. The war is not coming, it has already begun. The cavern trembled once more as the alien ship above shifted in the sky, its engines rumbling like thunder. The man opened his eyes, resolve flickering within them. For the first time, he wasn't just running. He was standing on the edge of something greater, something terrifying, but also inevitable. And deep down, he knew one truth. There was no going back. The final stand. The cavern shook again as the alien ship above shifted its position. The ground vibrated, dust falling from cracks in the ceiling. The man leaned against the glowing crystals, his heart pounding. He remembered the alien commander's voice. Surrender or Earth will burn. Billions of lives rested on his shoulders. His hands trembled as he looked at them, still faintly scarred with the glow of his new power. He didn't feel like a savior. He didn't feel like someone who could fight a galactic empire. He felt like a man who just wanted his life back. But there was no going back. The housekeeper stood beside him, her face firm, her glowing arm brighter now, pulsing with energy. "They will come again," she said. "This time not with drones, not with a hunter. They will send their army." The man's voice cracked. "I can't fight an army." Her eyes burned with conviction. "You don't have to fight alone. Your power is not just yours. It awakens others. If you stand, others will rise. That is how humans were meant to be." The man swallowed hard. Fear still gripped him, but her words lit a small fire in his chest. Maybe he wasn't strong enough yet. But maybe that didn't matter. Maybe what mattered was refusing to kneel. The cavern suddenly filled with red light as the ceiling split open. A beam cut downward, scorching the stone. The ship above had found them. "Move!" the housekeeper shouted, pulling him aside as the beam blasted the chamber, vaporizing stone where he had been standing. Dozens of drones poured through the opening, their red eyes glowing, their claws gleaming. Behind them, heavier machines descended, towering walkers with cannons for arms. The man's breath caught. "We can't win this." The housekeeper stepped in front of him, her voice fierce. "Then we make them pay for every step. Stand, human. Show them what you are." The first wave of drones lunged. The man raised his hands, fear and fire colliding inside him. Energy burst outward in a shock wave, slamming the machines against the cavern walls. Sparks exploded, metal shrieked. The housekeeper leapt into the fray, moving like lightning, tearing through the drones with glowing strikes. Together they fought, one with raw awakening power, the other with precision and strength forged for this very purpose. But the enemy kept coming. The walkers opened fire, beams scorching the ground. The man dove behind a crystal as explosions rocked the cavern. His heart pounded. He could feel the energy surging inside him again, stronger than before, begging to be released. He pressed his hand against the crystal, and suddenly light flowed into him. It filled his veins, his chest, his very bones. The glow spread across his body until he shone like a beacon in the dark. The housekeeper saw him and her eyes widened. "Yes, that's it. Don't fight it. Become it." The man rose to his feet, glowing brighter than the crystals themselves. His fear was still there, but it was drowned out by something stronger. Resolve. The walkers fired again. He lifted his hands and the beams bent in midair, twisting harmlessly away. The machines hesitated as if confused. With a roar, the man thrust both hands forward. A wave of pure force ripped through the cavern, smashing the drones into pieces and toppling the walkers like toys. The ground shook, the air vibrated, and for a moment everything was silent. Then the alien ship responded. The cavern's ceiling tore apart as a massive shadow descended. It was the commander's war form, an armored giant, its burning eyes fixed on the man. "So it is true," the commander's voice thundered. "The human awakens." The man's legs trembled, but he stood tall. "I won't surrender." The commander raised a massive arm, its claws dripping with energy. "Then you will die, and your world will follow." The housekeeper moved to stand beside him, her voice calm but strong. "Not while I still breathe." The man clenched his fists. Energy roared inside him, brighter than ever before. The cavern glowed with his power, the crystals pulsing in rhythm with his heart. The commander charged. The man stepped forward, His fear burned away by the fire inside him. For the first time, he didn't feel weak. He didn't feel ordinary. He felt human, truly human in a way that was both terrifying and powerful. Light burst from him as he met the commander's strike. The cavern shook with the force of their clash, stone splitting, crystals shattering. It was not just a fight for his life. It was a fight for Earth. And as the light swallowed the chamber, the last thought in his mind was clear. This is only the beginning.